be. Woo. Man.
I love you.
1018, 1019.
You guys make my life worth it. I don't know what I would do without you guys. Really don't.
Mississippi
Okay.
26, Mississippi 27.
Oklahoma,
Come on.
Oklahoma.
There you go.
Okay. There we go. Okay, guys, we are
18,
on.
1019.
Welcome to You Could Be Wrong, but Who Cares? Your normal intro person, Anderson, will not be here today, so I'm taking over this, and this is your co-host, Sean, accompanied by...
On, guys. This is great. This is perfect for the show. I want everyone to experience my goof up because now we're streaming live on YouTube and it's going through. We're getting the feedback on YouTube.
All right.
So we're starting it again, is what you're saying?
Starting it again. We're gonna do it again. There we go.
Seemed like it was my turn by now.
That was good. That was a good one, Sean.
Yep. Welcome to You Could Be Wrong, but Who Cares? Your normal intro person, Anderson, won't be here today, so I'm going to be covering for him. And this is Sean, along with your other co-hosts.
Christopher Harris.
Nicole.
I'm John.
And Mike.
Well, guys, this is our last show of 2020. 2020 has been an amazing year, a year that this show started in, and we've seen a wild mix of panelists. It looks like we have our solid foundation. We're still looking for a conservative female, and please contact us through our email at mysakeproductions@gmail.com, at mysakeproductions@gmail.com. You could also find us at we could be wrong in Instagram as well as in Facebook. Please send your if you want to be a part of the show, please send your emails or messages to us, and we would love to have you on, and let's see how we do. Today we have a very interesting topic. Today we'll be talking about President Trump's pardons of Blackwater and sort of what that means to each one of us. And sort of talking about, for me, I was questioned why that was of interest for me. And for me, it was a real moral issue, but we'll get into that starting. And I'm super excited, guys. And we're going to open up the floor. Sean, would you like to open us up on some of your thoughts on the pardon?
First of all, you all know I'm ex-military, 20 years Navy, served a lot of my career with the Marine Corps. I'm a total military supporter. I honestly do believe in a lot of things that President Trump has done for the military. I think have helped them in some way, shape, or form. And there's still a military out there that support him. There's so much in these pardons. I personally don't agree with them. I think it's a violation of so many UN protocols, and there's so many US military that are not supporting this. And I've got a whole slew of reasons why, and I could spend 40 minutes talking, but I don't want to do that. I just want to give you my opening statement that, I'm not a supporter of the Blackwater pardons. I don't think that was right. I think it was immoral.
Wow.
You want to continue with some of your thoughts, Mike?
I'm one of the things, and I read about this, that makes sense to me is our image as a country, and what does it say about us that we had a group of vigilantes, mercenaries is a better word. Chris talked about that, and they're mercenaries that are hired by our government to go in and do things militarily. Is there a standard that they should go by? Do we have a moral standard that every human should follow, or is war, and you just do whatever you want? So it's tricky stuff. It's real tricky stuff. But I'm worried about the image on America because, we indicted these men, we put them in jail because they did something, and the last thing in the world, I think a prosecutor wants to do in America is to prosecute your own troops or Americans. But they did that and found them to be guilty, which shows the rest of the world that we have the ability to look at certain things and say, hey, that's not going to be the way we're going to do things. And now we've kind of backed down on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I worry about, that particular image that we send out to the world, I guess.
Well, and it's not the first pardon of war crimes either. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Master Chief
Yeah.
Gallagher from the SEALs, and trust me, he's part of my own, family, the Navy, and he pardoned him that he was convicted of, not right. I mean, he wasn't convicted of war crimes, but he was sentenced because they couldn't convict him. They got him convicted of taking pictures with dead people, but anyways, he was still, his own team said he was crazy, and he pardoned him too. So it just shows me it's a propensity to I don't know what it's a propensity to do, because it just doesn't seem right to me. It just makes our whole world picture, like you said, Mike, make Iraq look at us going, what can we trust from America? They're not going to do anything for us. And the UN's thinking the same thing.
What are some of your thoughts, Nicole? You live in like you live in San Diego, where we have some military bases there. You work in and around military personnel. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think it was wrong, and I think that it's clearly a bad idea. I pretty much agree with Sean and Mike that it doesn't look good for our country, and I feel like it kind of opens us up to problems with other countries, because clearly we don't do what we say. And I think it's just not good for us at all. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't send a good message. And, it opens us up to really kind of be in danger, in my opinion.
John, what's some of your thoughts?
So this is a mixed bag for me. So out of full disclosure, I have a family, both immediate, extended friends who have all served. My family served in every branch: Air Force, Army, Marine. I have a cousin who's a SEAL. I have several uncles who are Marines. My father was in the Army. I have one uncle that was an Army Ranger. I still have friends that are over there in the Middle East right now. And this case in particular is confusing because, from what I understand, it seems like the U.S. government didn't do much investigation on it, but that most of the evidence came from the Iraqi police force. That was as much as I could gather. I couldn't find many details on this at all, to be honest with you, when I tried to look it up. So there's a couple of things that really come down as hard points for me. One is that I really don't understand the whole military contractor thing, the armed escort deal that is in partnership with the military. I understand guarding of logistics and things like that. I don't really understand what their purpose was on this particular mission, because I couldn't find out a lot of details on that. And maybe that's classified, maybe it's not something that's out in the public. The other thing is that if we're treating these guys as soldiers, then that throws in a whole nother thing about wartime actions or actions under fire or actions on this, because what I could read from the case was the defense was saying that they were responding to an attack, but the prosecution was saying they didn't respond to attack, they initiated an attack. And that's why it really ends up being really confusing for me, because I couldn't find a clear assessment of what actually happened. I read what I could of the case. I really hate to rush judgment on somebody who's in a war zone and judge their actions because of what I've seen. And I had the uncles that came back that had combat and multiple combat tours. They really came back so different. And I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to like put too much of their press out, but just the stuff that I saw and the changes in them. And I just, if I can't get more details, I don't know what to say to this thing other than my natural tendency is to give the benefit of the doubt to the US soldier. I know these guys weren't soldiers. And again, that makes it a little more complicated to me. So I really don't, I'm really not sure what to do on this case. I don't know that I can make a decision with just the limited amount of data that I have.
So that makes that brings up questions for me. Or two that brings up questions that I want to ask. Yeah, it's really murky, right? And it matters, where you read your information from. But the fact is, innocent people were killed.
17.
And the fact,
And women and children.
Yeah, 2 kids under 15 were killed.
as well as the fact that, from what I've read, one of the soldiers actually had to point his gun at one of his partners to make him stop. Is that right?
Yeah, that's some of the data I've read. I mean, we're looking from different sources and who knows, but I'm looking at data that talks about the US military report indicated that they had fired without provocation. The FBI actually did look into it and concluded that they said 14 out of the 17 were killed without cause. They give them the 3 that were in the Kia. So I'm not sure if you guys know the whole situation with this mercenary unit. So, and that's what they are, mercenaries. The United Nations calls them mercenaries and are unacceptable, but the U.S. never signed that agreement.
Right.
So they were blocking a square off. They actually weren't even supposed to be there, but they went out without orders on this convoy. And the Iraqi police blocked a square off, and a small little Kia car didn't stop and went through. And that's when the, what was it called? It was Raven 23 Force opened fired on the Kia, killed the guy with one shot, the driver in the head, kept firing, killed his mother who was in the car and somebody else in the back seat. Then they grenaded it. And then they just kept firing. So that's why the U.S. military and the FBI said at least 14 of them were unapproved deaths. The 3 that ran with the Kia, they're like, okay, we understand you might have thought there'd been a threat there, but the other 14 you killed.
So here's the thing, and this is what I've been wrestling with, because I understand where John's coming from as well. But what I wrestle with is the fact is there are consequences for actions. If 14 deaths are unaccounted for, like if those were 14 people should not have been dead and you did that action, you have to take some type of responsibility, even if you're a good guy or not.
The military would punish you.
It's complicated, but in no way do I feel is it appropriate to pardon those gentlemen. Because not only are you confusing your own citizens on what we can and cannot do, but you're also sending a really bad signal to outside countries. And I think both Nicole, Sean, and Mike mentioned that, like, other countries are going to look at us and be like, this is what America is, entitled. They think they own everything, and it's going to cause resentment, and it's going to, breed hate, which there already is a lot of hate for us out there internationally. And my question to you is, yeah, John, you're like, hey, I feel it's a mixed bag, but you do feel that even if you're a proper person and you do something wrong, you have to take accountability for that, right? Or do you just walk off because you've had military background?
So I don't necessarily agree with even the question that you're asking. So if you're saying that somebody should take responsibility of something that they did wrong, then yes. I'm never going to say just because somebody has served in the military that they are immune to all crimes or anything like that. What I am questioning is judgment of people outside of a war zone looking into actions that are caused in a war zone, because that's a thing. Everybody can make rules and say, in war we don't do this, and in war we don't do that, and in war we don't do this. But it's a hell of a different thing when you're talking to a guy who's leading a group in, and I don't want to be vague, but I just want to talk about one thing. So a friend of mine who has been in Iraq multiple times and has had to do multiple tours and has been under fire.
No, wait,
He talks to me about these things, and he's
John, wait, just a major correction. He was never forced to do all those tours. He chose to do all those tours. That's very important, I think. Is that okay?
I have no idea why you needed to stop the story or stop what I was saying to make that point.
Because it's very important for people to understand. You were acting as if this guy was forced into tour after tour after tour. And I'm telling people, no, that's not the way it is. So
first off, no, I'm not acting like anybody was forced into any single tour.
Okay.
We have a military that is all voluntary. And that's one of the greatest things about our military is that people choose to put their life on the line.
Yes,
they absolutely choose to serve our country. They absolutely choose to go where their commanders send them, even at the risk of death. So I don't know what in the world that has to do with what I was saying.
Because you were giving the impression this guy was like tour after tour after tour. And like the government was making him do this, like the army or whatever service was making him do this. And it's very important for people to understand, no, that's not the case. He was doing this because he felt the need to do it. All those things you talked about, his duty to country, all of that, that's all part of it. But
so what difference does that make about the topic that I was speaking of?
It's huge.
What's the importance of that? What's the importance? What effect does that have on the thing that I was saying? Why was it so necessary to stop that, to point it out?
Because John, he's doing that. He's choosing that. That's his choice. Those are choices.
Yes, we've established that it's a volunteer military. Why is that important? That doesn't have any effect on what I was about to say.
Well, you were talking about the fact that he'd been there for 6 tours and this and that, and he'd been there for this long and all of this stuff. And I'm going to you, dude, the only reason he would be there for 6 tours would be because he was choosing to do 6 tours. If he was, whatever it was that was happening to him, at 2nd tour, he would have figured out, or 3rd tour, he would have figured out. But he's been there for that many tours that colors the situation on what's going on.
That colors the situation by showing that he has experience not only in civilian life, but in military life and in combat situations.
He's choosing it. So go ahead with your story. As long as the audience knows that's a choice he makes every day to do that for our country. I absolutely agree with you on that.
Okay, just let me know when you're done, Mike. You can make whatever points you want to.
I'm done.
Whenever you're done.
I'm done.
Okay, great. So, as I was saying, this particular person I'm talking about has been over there for multiple tours. He's been in combat situations. He's been out of combat situations. He's been on guard when they have had those checkpoints and when they've had people drive through those checkpoints. One of the things that he's talked about in multiple cases is that it's not just people that look like they're bad guys coming up on you or things like that. And he says, you have to be on high alert all the time. And when you get back, when you're not even supposed to be on high alert, you're on high alert. I've seen that with family members that have come back. I've seen that with things like that come back. I've never been in combat. I can tell you that. So I don't know this from personal experience. I'm just going off of what friends and family have told me. But if you judge somebody on what they have to do in war and what they think they have to do to survive, that's a really rough thing to do. I'm not saying that the pardon was right. I'm not saying the pardon was wrong. Just like I was saying before, if you're going to judge somebody on a combat experience, on what they've had to do and the amount of time they've had to be over there to survive, I don't know that you can just say, hey, black and white, you shouldn't have killed this person. You shouldn't have killed this person. I don't know about that.
You have to.
And
judge,
since I
John.
can't see the details on it, that's why this thing is so murky to me.
I'm sorry,
if you have somebody that like I had this guy tell me this story that basically this little girl walked up to this guard, basically the guard on the base, and she was strapped. She was strapped with explosives. She walked up, she asked for help. The guard went out there and she blew herself up. She was like 8 or 9 years old.
John, can I?
So I can't see, there's a lot of times where you may not even see the threat, or you may not know who the enemy is in situations like that.
John, first of all, let me, I appreciate your perspective. Okay. And I understand, but may I ask you to, that's stupid. Let me try to rephrase it. I know you feel that you can't say if it's right or wrong, but for right now, at this moment during this show, can you give us like your gut feeling if it's right or wrong, or do you feel it's so murky you can't have a position on it?
Honestly, I don't feel like I have enough details to even make a decision.
Okay.
I'm so out of the loop on
And
on
see, John,
what I know about those type of things that I can't make a decision one way or the other.
what you're describing to me, I totally agree with in terms of this is what soldiers become. Okay. This is what soldiers become in our society. And they're defending our freedom, and they really are. They're there for the right purpose. They're not there to take over Iraq. They're there to help the people, to stabilize things so that things will be peaceful, and then we'll get the fuck out of Dodge. That's really, we know that as Americans, that's what we want. But the soldier that's in the field, like you're talking about, I totally understand that, as far as this guy coming home and look at what he's seen, look at what he's done, look at all of that. It's just so foreign to American life. And he's like, I mean, imagine what a quandary. Imagine how tough that must be. And that's what we do to soldiers. You were describing a scene when you talked about that little girl being strapped. You were describing a scene out of Vietnam for me. Absolutely. Just boom, right out of what they would talk about with Vietnam. The kids would come up and do this. This is what they did. What are you going to do? How are you going to make that decision? You're in the field. You're there. You got to decide in what, 2 seconds? That's what you're talking about, isn't it, John?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of what I was saying. I mean,
But the thing is, Blackwater is they're contracted, right? So these are men that get paid to go there and
They're
get
mercenaries.
cash. Okay, they're mercenaries. So it's a bit different than from our U.S. military going over there, fighting for what we stand for and trying to spread that for the world and give liberty to the world. These are guys who say, I'm going to go do this because I can make cash. Is that fair to say, or am I being ignorant about
And
it?
I like the lifestyle, and I like the violence, and I like the adrenaline rush, and I like to pack a high-powered weapon and have the ability to shoot it.
I mean,
What
is
do you
that
think?
fair
What
for
do
me
you,
to say?
No, John, look at Blackwater. Dude,
no, what do you?
hold on. They looked at Blackwater, initiated over 80% of combats in Iraq, firing their weapons over 186 times in a 5-month window over there. Some of those guys were hardcore motivated mercs. They want to fight. And I understand that, but there is such thing as the Geneva Convention. We have to follow protocols of war. There's protocols. And shooting up 17 civilians, I'll even go with the Army's one or the FBI's one and say 14, the 3 that were in the car. You had a right, even though I don't agree with it because they ran through a checkpoint. But the other 14, there was no right to do. None.
Another thing I would like to say is that for this pardon, like I can understand if there was, us over here in America saying, hey, those Blackwater mercenaries, they were really given a raw deal. That's not really fair. We should look into this. But no one was talking about them. No one was bringing it up. And I remember when this went down, I remember when it was a major situation, in the news, and we didn't really have all the information. And it did just kind of fade away until they were sentenced, and then it got faded away again. So for them to pop up and then be given this, this clemency, is that the word they use? Given this, this mercy, this
Pardon?
pardon, you know what I mean, is a little shocking to me, because when I did look into it to educate myself, I'm thinking to myself, well, what about the members of the dead people? They were born in that country. They didn't choose to be in there. They didn't choose to be in that environment. It was put onto them. And now their loved ones are dead, or those people themselves are dead.
Yeah, but it wasn't put onto them by the American government. It was put onto them by their own country.
Yeah, it
You
was.
know,
But
Well,
it
I
was
just
and
look
we,
at the
that killed them.
UN's upset at us right now. Very upset. And they're saying we're not following UN guidelines. You know? Now, John, it says it right here. These parties violate U.S. obligations under international law and more broadly, humanitarian law and human rights at global level. And that's directly from the UN. I guess the UN's corrupt also. I don't know.
Just to be clear,
first
John
off-
did not
first
say, hold
off-
on, John, please give me a second. Just to be clear, John did not say this was fair for these guys. He stated since the
Right.
beginning, look.
No,
it's
I
mixed
understand,
bag.
but I just said it's
Okay.
against UN laws, and he laughed and put his head back.
no,
I-
well, I didn't.
I can see him.
I understand.
Okay.
I don't know all
Okay,
that.
sorry, I
Yeah.
can't.
I just want to make it clear to the audience,
Yeah.
because there's no reason for the audience to be like, any hate towards John at all.
No,
I-
no,
you
No,
know,
no,
yeah, okay.
no.
not saying
Okay,
that at
I
all.
just
I'm
wanted
just-
to be clear.
My
Okay.
20 years in the military and my combat experience tells me different stuff. And I understand. I mean, people that aren't there, I agree with John completely. People that have never been there don't know. But this is where I wish Richard was here also, because he would tell you
Yeah,
you're held accountable.
That's so funny, because that's
if you do
exactly what I was
something
thinking
wrong.
in my head. I was going to say that. I was going to
Yes.
say right when you got done. I wish Richard was here, but you know what?
hey,
The military were held
Richard.
accountable. Same as the
Richard,
police department should be held accountable if they do something wrong and kill innocent people.
Richard, you suck.
Yeah.
You should have been here. You should have been here today. Really, this was
So
a very
John, I want to
important
know what
topic.
your thing about when I said the UN said it's illegal. What
No,
you don't agree with that?
I wasn't disagreeing with you on the UN saying it was illegal. The laugh and the putting my head down. Obviously, I did that because it's on camera. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's more about to this day, I still, and I know you guys have a way different view than I do. I don't understand why we care so much about what the UN thinks of us, because the UN has been against us for a long time. There's a lot of weird things that they do, or things that just drive me up the wall. I mean, even the little, I don't know, this is little. I don't want to say that because I don't want to downplay this, but the fact that China is on the Human Rights Committee, I mean, it's just insane. The UN has been mad at us for a long time about a ton of different things.
honest with
The
you?
last big thing was that whole thing about Trump trying to get people to pay their fair share into there because we were paying so much money going into the UN.
Mhm.
No, that,
I mean,
Hold
there's
on.
a lot of
I wanna
countries in there
answer
that are
his
angry at us
questions
about a
that they
lot of
asked us.
stuff.
He said,
So-
I don't understand why you guys are worried about the UN. I'm not worried about the UN. The UN wasn't my first
No.
thought when those guys got pardoned. My thought was the family members of those dead people.
No, I was just responding to what
Sean was saying.
what Sean
And
had asked me
he's saying
about.
that that's one of the puzzle pieces. I think he brought that up to you for you to see, hey, man, this is where we could clear it up for you by saying, this is bad.
I
And
just think it's going to cause turmoil with Iraq against us. They're going to look at us and go,
I believe so.
America doesn't follow their points. They don't keep their criminals that destroy us. So why are we worried about stopping people that hurt them?
and it really goes back to the original question. We're in war. Can we establish a morality in war? Really? I mean, that's John's point, that we train these guys to do this service, and Chris brings up, well, it's a little bit different this time because these are mercenaries. They're not even government workers. But bottom line is, we know they're working for our best interest in terms of what they're doing. Okay. Which is, to me, explains the Trump pardon, because it's like, come on, you guys, these are patriots. They are patriots in the version of what I view as patriots.
Blackwater?
Yeah.
Blackwater
can
wasn't
say-
even licensed to work in Iraq when they had the shooting.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
It
They
does.
were there.
They're supposed to-
Sean,
John,
okay.
I mean, Mike, sorry. I'm used to
in
going
the-
that. Sorry, John.
He's so used to yelling at me that
Yeah,
it just comes
yeah.
out.
They're supposed to have licenses.
It was
Every other contract security people
Okay,
were licensed. They were denied a license to work,
okay. Sean,
and they still did.
the American people, do they believe that Blackwater is fighting in their interest?
I don't know. I see him as a mercenary group. I don't see a mercenary group fighting in my interest at all. I see him in fighting who's going to pay them the most.
You're pulling.
That's
Yeah.
a definition of mercenary.
Let me ask a
Definition.
question about something just another thing that I don't understand about this case is that why, I guess, what originated Blackwater's involvement in this? Like what were they supposed to be doing at the time outside of the escort
Yeah.
mission? Like what brought them into that? Why did we not have a U.S. military contingent doing that escort as opposed to
Right.
them?
Well, they did it. Doesn't make a
We only
difference.
allow
They did
so
it.
many military in Iraq, so that's why we hired contract security, which was again supposed to be licensed in Iraq, but Blackwater wasn't, and they were just doing. They weren't even supposed to be in the square.
Well, I mean, if the U.S. authorized them to be there, then
It's not U.S. territory. It's Iraqi territory. That's like Iraq saying, "You
But-
can go to New York, my military people, and stay there."
But you know what he means. I mean, at that particular zone, they're saying, hey, yes, you can go in and do this. They've authorized the ability to go into a foreign country and do whatever they want to do. Yeah,
That's mercenary. That's not legal.
that's what they were, mercenary, right?
Right. That's not legal.
but if they were representatives of the United States at that point,
Yeah.
and the
You're saying
United States
Iraqi
had the
can-
agreement to go in there, then
Iraqi representatives from the Iraqi army can come over and station in New York City without us saying a word about it?
no, that's not what I'm saying at all. That's
Okay,
not what I'm
that's-
saying at all.
Because Iraq didn't tell them they could be there.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay, what are you saying?
Iraq doesn't give permission to most of the third-party contractors that do logistics for the U.S. military.
They
It's
do.
the
They
US.
license them.
The U.S. gives the approval, and they operate on U.S. bases or U.S. things like that. So if this was a base
It wasn't a
Yeah.
base.
or it was a convoy, so it was a convoy or it was
No, it was
Or
a
was what?
task force of 4 trucks in this Raven 23 group of Blackwater security that were supposed to be backed by the base, but decided to go up to the square instead.
Yeah.
So were they just in transit?
Yeah,
Or were they-
because I guess
Because
there
what
was
I
a
read
bombing.
was that they were on some sort of escort or some sort of guard duty.
There was a bombing at a different base, which is why people are on a little bit more high alert. These guys were supposed to stay back by a different base, but decided to go out to the square because there was going to be a convoy of, I can't remember, U.S. ambassadors or something coming through. So they decided to go up there originally, but they weren't even ordered to. They were ordered actually not to be there, but went there anyway. There's a ton of data on this. There really is.
So why wasn't this handled in a military court then?
Military did. The military was part of it. The military
Yeah.
came out. Where's my data again?
Yeah, it was, but the convictions came down through a federal court, correct?
Yeah.
Right, because
Yeah.
they're not military.
Right.
They're not military members.
Exactly. The FBI was in on that. I know that. in
The
investigation.
FBI, the U.S. military made judgment on it as well. Where's my stuff? I had so much
See, this-
crap.
And
The US
I'm looking at, this is the catch-22 of war. You know, you have these soldiers that are doing their thing, and then you have this other facet, you know, the law and the barriers and whatever that are trying to keep this thing, whatever, clean, sociable, whatever the fuck a war can be. A war is a war, right? You know,
We
let's
weren't
keep
at
it-
war with Iraq. We were at war with the terrorists over there.
I know, but
So it's
but
not even
it's a
really a
war.
war.
But it is a war against terror, you know.
But not against the Iraqi civilians.
No,
No,
but it was still a war zone though.
Yeah, come on.
It
You
was
know,
Baghdad.
well, but the point is, it's what we do as America. We get ourselves involved in these damn things, and we get all cluster fucked up, and then these situations happen, you know. And the bottom line is, there a morality or not? Is there a point in which you go, you know,
Yeah,
You're not-
that was the
you're not-
essence.
Yeah, you're not licensed to go in and kill any fucking buddy you feel like killing. That's not what this thing entails. American government's going to give you credibility to go in and do A, B, and C, but really, can you just go kill any fucking buddy you want? Or do we draw a line? And that may be what this case is about.
There's
And
a
I'm with you.
line.
Well, that
I'm with
that
you.
kind of brings up another question too.
I'm with you,
So
John. I don't know. I don't know.
If this is this is Iraqi soil, why weren't they charged by the Iraqis instead of by the U.S.?
Because they went back to the U.S. base.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
it would
they're
look-
on sovereign soil. And they
and it
were
would look-
employed by the U.S. State Department.
What were you going to say,
Security
Mike?
Guard.
So it would look a hell of a lot better if the American government said, you know what, these guys went too far. We got to admit that they killed 12 civilians.
They did.
Well,
But-
October 4th, 2007. So this happened September 16th. October 4th, 2007, U.S. military reports that there was obviously excessive fire. The FBI report came out on October 13th that said 14 were killed without cause.
Yeah, it
And
was
then they didn't even go to
investigation.
jail or didn't even have a trial until what, 6 years later?
Yeah, well, yeah, the convictions happened in 2014, but it was like 7 years. Everyone worked hard because you have to realize, think about just the pushback on the fact that if any of the federal prosecutors messed up or any of the investigation was wrong, just the explosiveness internationally would have been, I mean,
huge. Yeah, big time. Yeah.
We're fighting now over voting machines. Imagine something like that. That would have been crazy over lives. And I regret bringing up voting machines. Please, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm so-
My
so
only
sorry.
point is there are rules to any type of war, and it's international rules that everyone has agreed upon.
Mhm.
And killing civilians is against that rule. And that's why they call them war crimes. And that's what they were prosecuted under, because you don't have to be in the military to be prosecuted under war crimes. It just has to be during time of conflict that you do something wrong. And like I said, that's what everyone's upset about, is he pardoned war criminals. Imagine if Germany had pardoned their war criminals. No, you're pardoned. No, you're pardoned.
Oof. Oh dear God. Great example, Sean. Holy
Well, they weren't
cow.
prosecuted in Germany. It was an international tribunal.
Yep,
but
sorry.
that's my
Sorry
point.
about that. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Nope. Sorry. Nah, that 7 million dead. Nah, we can't do anything about it. Sorry.
You know-
we missed the window.
I want to speak for Renee here, because me and Renee spoke about that when he told me, he had to go. He's on call, and I said, so imagine if they did that, for the Nazis. And Renee's quick answer to me was, well, a lot of them did get away. A lot of them was on Project Paperclip or the rocket, the space program. Renee said that the Americans brought a lot of high officials over here.
Operation
That's-
Paperclip. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
so we're-
bullshit.
I'm just saying.
Bullshit.
That's what
calling
Renee
bullshit.
said. That's what he said.
I'm
So-
calling bullshit. Operation Paperclip was scientists, not fucking Nazis. Scientists. They were all scientists. I've done major research into that.
Why?
Okay.
Why did you
we-
make the research into that?
Wait,
Well,
do we want to go down that rabbit hole? Because Mike and I are going to
Operation-
fight again.
you don't think Operation Paperclip was about scientists?
Good way to get
No,
away
it
from
was
Spartan
absolutely
guys.
about scientists, but a lot of those scientists, both from Germany and the ones we brought in from Japan, had or were part of human experimentation.
Oh, well, okay, or whatever. Not rocket scientists. Come on, why did they want human experimentation? They wanted people that knew rocketry. That was Operation Paperclip.
It wasn't just that. There was during. Oh man, this is
Well-
what I want to say. If we're gonna go down that rabbit hole, this is gonna
Let's
take.
maybe we should
Wow.
save that topic for another
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
We'll
that could be a
go into
whole show
Project
on its own.
Paperclip.
When you
Oh.
start to
So-
go into that nuclear jet program, and you start, that's a big rabbit hole.
What? Okay, cool.
Okay, so I
Anyway,
guess
my
we
bottom
found one of our
line is
future
they just
topics.
shouldn't have been. That there needs to be consequences for killing civilians in war.
Yes.
And
Well,
as soon
that's
as
what I
we stop
feel.
that, then everyone's going to do it, and there's going to be no consequences from anybody. That's why they made the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, and that's what I feel as a citizen of the earth, as a human being, because if this happened to my family members, or if some I mean, I would want blood. And I got peace that they were arrested and put
Yeah,
in jail. And
yeah,
now that they're let
yeah.
go, I mean, I would
Yeah.
hate, the other country. I would have a hate, and I would teach my children to hate them. And that's how these forever ending wars happen. That's how this forever ending thing happens. And
If
I
there's
just,
no rules, it goes crazy. That's why people like Nick Corman weren't supposed to be shot at. We're healthcare providers, even though we carried
Yeah.
firearms. They weren't supposed to shoot at medical people because we're helping people. The Vietnam put bounties on us. Iraq, you didn't wear, trust me, we didn't wear our medical stuff when we were in combat zones. You take everything medical off and you put it in a bandolier, all your bandages, because they'll target you. They'll look at you and go, hey, I take care of him. Other people are going to die. So I'll just shoot him first. Officers and medical people.
Well, I think we can
Yeah.
all agree that we don't want anybody innocent getting mowed down or
Yes.
grenaded or murdered or anything like that.
yes.
So I don't know. I don't know.
I'm standing
Uh-oh.
on the position that
Sounds
it's
like
wrong
Nicole.
to pardon them.
Uh-oh.
And it's possible. Am I breaking up? Oh no. Okay,
Yeah.
give me a second.
Yeah,
Is
I
it still
am.
sounding like
Yeah.
that?
Hey, we want to hear what Nicole has to say. She hasn't spoken in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
She said,
I did talk a little while ago. I agree with everyone. It was wrong to pardon those Blackwater guys.
Those Blackwater guys.
Yeah.
mhm,
But am I sounding better now, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
And ladies? Okay. I'm gonna stand on a position that it was wrong. And if somehow it could be reversed, it should be. That's the position I'm standing on, not because I'm not patriotic or I don't, I have no respect for the dangers that those people put themselves in. If it's a job or not, it's still dangerous. They're still brave men, but there has to be consequences for actions. There has to be. And that's my position.
Definitely.
okay.
Okay.
How are we doing on time? I want to yell at Renee still.
Go ahead. Yeah, please. We're doing great.
Is everybody okay? Everybody else okay? Like,
Yeah,
John?
it's only been
Yeah.
less than an hour.
Yeah.
you good?
Yep.
Okay, well, last week Renee was talking about this book he read where humans don't belong on Earth. Remember that?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. He was talking about the fact that, we don't belong here and, we should come from another situation because our backs are wrong and we don't, we sag and all that shit. And I just wanted to point out, I hope the guy in the book wrote out that 98.8%, we have the same DNA as chimpanzees and a different kind of monkey. 98.8% of our DNA is exactly like theirs. Our blood is almost exactly like theirs. Our immune system is almost exactly like theirs. And that's, like when you put that into the factor of who we are, whether we belong on Earth, I think, this is our planet, because the species here, we've come from them and they've come from us.
Wait a
We're
minute,
almost
Mike.
as smart as dolphins.
Wait a minute, Mike. You're saying that's what bothered you, not the fact that demons and angels were coming on Earth?
No, he was talking about the other part about yeah. No, I ignored that already, Chris. I just thought, he's full of shit on that. No. That doesn't count. No. Demons and whatever. Yeah.
Not biological extraterrestrial.
No. Yeah. Really, it's fascinating to look at our similarities, and there's only a 1.2% difference between the species. But when you think about that, that equals like 35 million differences in our DNA. And genes, what they tend to do, our genes turn on and off, and they have different functions. And they sometimes, depending on what the event is, sometimes different times, different places, the genes do different things. And that's what has created the separation between us and monkeys, especially in the brain. where those typically take place. I know I'm pretty far out there, but this is science stuff. Um, one of the other interesting things about this is our where most of these things take place is in our brain.
Mhm.
And so what's happened is the separation between the two species has occurred, and what's cemented in is mating, who you mate with, and the genetic line that you take. So obviously we went more toward Homo erectus, is what is called, man who stood up, than we did toward the apes. And our brains are bigger than chimpanzees. And then, but when you think of things like our immune systems are different. For example, chimpanzees don't get malaria. They're immune from it, but humans can they're not resistant from it. So humans get malaria. So that was one of the genetic differences that showed up. So in the drift of the species, as they continue to go apart. So, I'm not trying to pull some evolutionary shit here, but it boggles my mind when I think that we are almost 99% similar to chimpanzees. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. That was good. I think you should give a lecture about that. I think that's really good. But we're gonna move on to our next topic. Do we want to take a 5-minute break, or we're obviously going to cut the show a little bit shorter than usual? You want to run through, or you want to take a break?
I'm fine with anything.
You
Okay.
say
I'm
that
fine.
now, and then we're going to run over.
I promise
Yeah.
we won't. I promise we won't. So we have a mini segment here where each of us gets to talk to the audience and sort of talk about, if you want, your New Year's resolution and sort of what you hope for our audience in the new year 2021. Whoever wants to start can start.
Go for it, Sean.
Oh, good. Thanks. Start with me, Mike. First of all, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, or whatever you celebrate. Our last show was before that. So any of you who celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a very good and safe one. And I hope you have a good New Year's tomorrow. Same with all the panel. New Year's resolution's tough. Everything's so crazy this year. I was texting with a couple of you guys earlier, and I was kind of honest about my text. I hope really that I can live a healthier New Year coming up. I hope that I can find more understanding and not jumping to conclusions fast. I think we all have a tendency, especially when things get crazier, to have a closed mind a little bit, and I want to try to open mind more. I think you have to be able to walk into a conversation with the ability to have your mind change. Not saying, oh, they're never going to change my mind, because then why speak? So we all have to have the ability to listen and say, okay, well, that makes sense. Maybe that is true. I remember one of the first shows I did, we were talking about that with the monuments from the Civil War. And I mentioned it and I stated my opinion. You guys said a bunch of opinions back. And I'm like, all right, that makes sense. I kind of agree with you now then. So I think we all have to have that ability in every aspect of our life. I think it makes us more open people. So that's kind of what my New Year's resolution is I want to have that ability more to honestly, openly listen to what someone's saying without a closed mind to start with. And I try not to, but we're all human and we all do it to some extent. I just don't want to do it that much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Nicole, do you want to go next?
Sure. First of all, happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year's. I hope everyone is
Kwanzaa.
gonna go into the new year, with a joyful heart and ready for new beginnings. And I do have New Year's resolutions. My New Year's resolutions are to eat more healthy, drink more water, and to say yes more, because I feel like in 2020, a lot of times we didn't have the option to say yes and do the things that we wanted to do. So in 2021, my plan is to basically say yes as much as possible. I feel like in 2019, I didn't take that opportunity. In 2020, I couldn't take that opportunity. So that's kind of the biggest one. And that's going to be like kind of the scariest one for me, is to just say yes more and, you know, do things that I might not necessarily think I'm so thrilled about in the beginning, but just to say yes and try new things and do more things.
No,
Hey, if I give you
Giselle.
my wife's email, will you send that to her too? Tell her she should do that. That's a great idea.
What I was
Say
gonna
yes
do is like
more.
note to self on Friday at 8 a.m. Call Nicole and ask her for $10,000. The first thing I'm gonna do. Yes, yes, 10,000, yes. Oh, John.
I have not written any New Year's resolutions at all. This might be the first year that I actually sit down and write something. I do want to say though that we talk about a lot of the bad stuff that's happened in 2020 as far as lockdowns and things like that, but there was a lot of good that happened in 2020. There was a lot of things like technological advancements that happened. There was a lot of things that I would put back to, again, this is going to be more of my group of my circle of people, but people getting back to spending more time with their families and being able to be more interactive with their families, different things that you've had to overcome. There's a lot of times that having to overcome hard things really benefits you in the long run. If life is always easy and everything's always normal, then a lot of us just get sedentary. I can tell you 100% from personal experience, the easier things are, kind of the more lazy I kind of get on certain things. So having to overcome things, having to work around things, you know, for me starting up that new business this year, that was, and then, you know, 2 months into the business, have everything locked down and then figuring out what I need to do and how do I get past that. That was a big thing for me. And I know I'm not the only one, but there was a lot of people who weren't as fortunate as I was, but I was able to learn a lot of things. I was able to make plans, able to be able to have experiences I didn't have before. So there was a lot of good things that came out of this year that we can take going forward. Not everything was horror. Now there was a ton of bad. There was a lot of people that unfortunately passed away. There was a lot of unintended bad things and evil that came up, but I honestly believe that there was I'm not sure how to word it where it's going to sound like
Just
what
say
I
it.
want it to mean.
Just yeah,
But-
you could be wrong. Just go for it.
I think that I could be wrong, but I'm usually not.
Right.
Don't
You're-
don't spit your food out so quick.
I just said bullshit.
But go ahead, John. Go ahead because this is great. This is great. Go ahead.
When we have a country that goes through hard times, we always come out. America always comes out the other side as a better country. We come out where we've had to suffer, but we tend to gather together. We tend to be more open to each other. We tend to say, "Hey, we have a shared experience. We all went through this garbage over here." We relate to each other better. We look at each other differently. You know, we enjoy the things that used to irritate us. I mean, I know people that are like, "Man, I miss sitting in traffic," which I think is nuts, but it's that was part of their experience. And they're like, yeah, I'll be glad to be able to drive back to the office, or I'll be glad to drive to so-and-so, or little things like that, because that was part of their world that they can't do anymore. And obviously I hope that, you know, people are able to see their families, but I think that not being able to see your family has helped you appreciate the family that much more. People who it was so easy to visit before, you miss them. The old saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. That's what I meant to say. But there's a lot of good that can come out of that. So I hope that we can all look at those things and appreciate things better.
Let me tell you, John, you know, that was great. I thought that was terrific. And I think that's super important. And I think that's very good teachings to give to the audience and to the panel themselves. It's a great way to look at it. I know that 2021 is going to be awesome on January 21st. I know that it's going to be great. Mike, what do you have to say?
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Yeah.
Oh, well, I
Hint, hint.
know January 21st is a great
Yeah.
day for personal reasons. Not what you think.
It's going to be done. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, uh,
Oh,
I got to tell you, yeah, I know. I got to tell you a little bit about where I am. I'll talk to you in a minute about that. But I'm really um, more than ever in my life. I'm really happy, and a year ended. More, I can't think of another time in my life when I've been more satisfied or happy that a year has ended, and I want to kick it in the ass, and I want to like, fuck you. And part of, I think what John was saying was that's going to make us stronger. And I absolutely agree with that part, that all the shit we went through as a country, as a family, as a person, all of that is important because it's not going to be any easier in the future. It's going to get tricky, and we're going to have to be strong and perspective and learn that, you know what, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Disappointing to you, John. I think Trump has been an example to a lot of people that we need to pay attention to what's going on in the world and realize that while we want change and we don't like what's going on, that's not what we want. We don't want that. I'm sorry, we don't want that. And perhaps Biden is God's gift to America to say, you know, I'm going to give you a grandpa. That's what you need right now more than anything. Just somebody who can just be cool and kind. A grandpa who can be kind to America and realize we need to be kind to each other. If we can do that, you know, that's a big deal. On the
perception is
personal,
really important, right? Perception. Perception
Yeah.
is very important, right?
yeah,
That's what you're saying.
yeah. Let's just, you know, move on in a positive way and bind. You know, we're America. We all have the same goal. We do. And we just need to, you know, mellow out a little bit and just, you know, figure out, because it's complicated. Everything's complicated in today's world, extraordinarily complex. It's moving so fast. You guys, you have no idea. You young people, you have no idea how fast things are moving. It's extraordinary how fast things are going. And, you know, so let's get on with it. Personally,
Yeah, there we go. Sorry.
yeah. In March of 2019, my ex-wife was diagnosed with leukemia. And I told her I would hold her hand. And I did. You know, I told her that, and I meant it. I was going to hold your hand. I don't care what happened. We're going to go through this. And we did. We did a bone marrow transplant and all of that. Went to San Francisco for 3 months. And, you know, there was never a doubt in my heart that she wouldn't get better. Never. But it didn't work out that way. You know, I don't get to call the shots. So that's where we are now. And we're human. We're human. And that's what we are. We are. In our agreements and our disagreements, we're human. And I've never felt more human than now. And I love it. I really do. My job now, as I see it, is to make the most positive, forward life with Nita that I can make, so that she understands that our life is a gift, and we're never going to look down on it. We're never going to be disappointed. It's just what it is. And as long as you have a breathing heart, you will move forward and live. Probably makes no sense to anybody, but
Does.
okay. Anyway, yeah, and that's where we are, and that's okay. It's part of us. It's what we are. It is. It's part of life. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away, I think.
It's fine. You know, yeah, we should all cherish our loved ones. I'm gonna end the show on that note. I think that's beautiful. I will also dedicate this show to Nita as well. And I mean, I am very grateful for her for being one of our most, she listened to all of our shows and had things to say, and I'm really grateful for that. It made me feel good. I think John had a good point. Mike has a good point. Yeah, 2020, we got to spend more time. I got very lucky. I got to be with my daughter more, meaning like I got to be home. I got to leave a very stressful position as a director of nursing to be with an amazing patient, and I only work 3 days out of the week where I get to focus on this station in this show. And so there is some good. And we're just going to end the show now, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube at We Could Be Wrong. Just type that in. The more you subscribe, the faster it'll populate up. Don't forget to go to we_could_be_wrong in Instagram, and go to Facebook and send your messages right to us. We'll go back to reading emails starting next year. Nita, this show's for you. We love you, and we're gonna ride with you as long as you let us. John, outro. Hey, John, sometimes you are right, buddy. And let's give you your outro. John, take it away.
Thank you for listening to We Could Be Wrong, and thank you for listening to all the hosts over the past year. Again, thank you guys for allowing me to be on the panel here with you. We wish everybody a happy new year. Hopefully you have success, happiness, and you find the things that you need to find in the future. Have a good night.
Amen.
Bye. Happy New
Bye.
Year.
Woo! Woo woo!
Happy New Year. I'll see you in 2021.
Right. Ta-da.
Okay.
Ooh, John jumped off quick. He
Yeah.
didn't want to talk.
No.
Chris, did I
Fuck
get,
them.
I'm sorry, Chris.
No, don't be
I-
sorry. Hey, man, we absolutely love you. There's no question. I love you. You are a major part of my life. I mean, I've known you since I was 14 years old, and I love you with all my heart. The only other topic was I was just going to talk about freaking the stimulus, but I could bring that up, when next
About
week.
what?
The stimulus, if it's
Oh,
going to
the
help any
stimulus,
of
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could bring that up next week. Jesus
Jesus.
Christ, man! Like, I'm very lucky to have all you guys in my life. I'm lucky.
Sean, I love your knowledge, Sean. Really, really, you're on it. I like that a lot.
When we were doing Blackwater, I looked it up, man.
Yeah.
I wanted
yeah.
to make sure because it's near and dear to my heart being
Yeah.
military.
No, that was cool. That's cool. I sure wish Richard would have been here.
too.
fucking pisses me off, man. I'm gonna rub his ass next time. Really? Come on, this is military stuff. He should have been in on that.
Well, and he was in more combat zones than I was, you know?
Right,
So, I
right,
mean, it's just,
right.
it's,
Yeah, it
it'd
makes
be interesting
sense.
to hear his point of view. I'd be willing to bet it's probably pretty close to mine. It's like you have
Yeah.
to take accountability. Mistakes happen. And if it was only those 3 that had gotten shot that ran the roadblock,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a mistake. They did something they shouldn't. But when there's 14 others killed that didn't do anything
Yeah.
wrong,
Yeah,
it's rough.
yeah.